After 30, one thing starts to become clear. Happiness does not disappear all at once. It slowly drifts away. At first, you think it is just tiredness. Then you think it is lack of money, lack of time, lack of recognition, lack of someone, or lack of a major life change. But as the years pass, you begin to notice something deeper. Maybe your life does not feel heavy because something is missing. Maybe it feels heavy because there is too much taking up space inside you. Things you accepted out of fear, things you kept carrying out of guilt, things that once made sense, but today only drain your energy. After 30, life starts asking for less accumulation and more cleansing, less noise and more direction, less need to prove yourself and more courage to choose. And maybe this is the part almost no one teaches you. Becoming happy again does not mean going back to who you used to be. It means eliminating what is stopping you from being whole right now. The Stoics understood this a long time ago. For them, a good life was not a life filled with pleasure, status, or approval. A good life was a life guided by clarity. A life where you know what depends on you, what does not depend on you, and you stop handing your peace over two things that change all the time. Because many people spend their lives trying to control what others think, what others do, what time has taken away, what the past caused, and what the future might bring. And in that attempt, they lose the only place where they truly had power, their own mind. Today, I want to talk about 5 things you need to eliminate after 30 to become happy again. And I am not talking about superficial happiness, the kind that depends on good news, a trip, a purchase, or someone treating you well. I am talking about a quieter kind of happiness. The happiness of waking up without feeling like you are betraying yourself, of breathing without feeling like you owe the world a different life, of looking at your choices and thinking, maybe I still do not have everything, but at least I am coming back to myself. The first thing you need to eliminate after 30 is the need to prove that your life turned out well. This is a very subtle prison because it looks like ambition, maturity, and responsibility, but many times, it is just fear dressed in something beautiful. Fear of looking behind, fear of being judged, fear of meeting someone from your past, and feeling like you need to explain why you have not reached the place you once imagined. Fear of looking at other people's lives and feeling like you fell behind. After 30, comparison becomes crueler because it feels like everyone is being evaluated. One person got married, another had children, another bought a house, another moved abroad, another started a business, another seems to be making a lot of money, another appears smiling in beautiful places, living what looks like a light and successful life, while you are simply trying to keep your head together. And then the silent question appears, did I fail? But you need to understand something. Other people's lives are not a reliable ruler for measuring your own. You are comparing your full reality with selected fragments. You are comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. And if you keep living like this, you will never win. There will always be someone who seems happier, richer, more loved, more disciplined, more successful. Comparison is a debt that never ends, because it always finds a new reason to make you feel insufficient. The hidden cost of trying to prove that your life turned out well is that you begin living to look okay, not to be okay. You accept choices that do not fit you. You maintain relationships just because they support an image. You buy things you do not need. You pretend to be confident when you are lost. You hide sadness to appear strong. You work beyond your limits so you are not seen as ordinary. And little by little, your life becomes beautiful on the outside, but uncomfortable on the inside. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that peace should not depend on other people's opinions, because other people's opinions change. Today they approve of you. Tomorrow they criticize you. Today they admire you. Tomorrow they forget you. Today your life seems interesting. Tomorrow someone appears with a bigger achievement. When you hand your happiness to an audience, you become a slave to unstable applause. After 30, you need to start asking a different question. Not will this impress people, but does this make sense to me? Not will they think I made it, but can I live in peace with this choice? Not does my life look good, but does my life feel livable from the inside? Because a happy life is not necessarily an impressive life. It is a life where you do not need to run away from yourself when everything becomes silent. The second thing you need to eliminate after 30 is carrying people out of guilt. This one may hurt more, because many people confuse boundaries with coldness. You learned that being good means always being available, that loving means enduring, that loyalty means putting up with everything, that saying no means disappointing someone. So you keep carrying problems that are not yours, dramas you did not create, responsibilities no one asked for with respect, and relationships that only work when you abandon yourself. You answer messages when you have no energy. You accept invitations you do not want. You listen to the same complaints from people who never change. You try to save those who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You apologize for being tired. You feel guilty when you choose to rest, and without realizing it, you start living as if your peace matters less than other people's emotional comfort. But there is a question you need to have the courage to ask. What kind of love requires you to disappear? What kind of relationship only stays standing when you break yourself to hold it up? What kind of bond calls your exhaustion dedication? The truth is that some people do not want your presence. They want unlimited access to you. They want to call you at any time, unload any burden, demand understanding, invade your time, manipulate your guilt, and still make you feel selfish when you try to breathe. But unlimited access is not intimacy. It is invasion disguised as affection. Epictetus taught that we do not control what others feel, think, or do. We only control our choices, our responses, and our actions. This means you are not responsible for preventing every discomfort around you. You are not responsible for saving adults from the consequences of their own decisions. You are not responsible for emotionally supporting people who do not respect your limits. After 30, you need to understand that a boundary is not rejection. A boundary is a form of truth. It is you saying, I care about you, but I cannot abandon myself. It is you saying, I respect you, but I also need to respect myself. It is you saying, I can love without carrying what is not mine. And maybe some people will not like that. Maybe they will call you cold. Maybe they will say you changed. Maybe they will try to push you back into the old role, the one where you accepted everything, explained everything, forgave everything, and solved everything. But sometimes, when someone says you changed, what they really mean is, you stopped being easy to control. The third thing you need to eliminate after 30 is the rush to be where people said you should already be. There is a very common suffering in this stage of life, the feeling of being late. I should already be earning more. I should already be married. I should already have children. I should already be over this. That word, should, weighs heavily because it turns life into a courtroom. You are not just living, you are judging yourself all the time. Every choice becomes evidence. Every mistake becomes a sentence. Every comparison becomes an accusation. And when you believe you are late, you start making decisions not from clarity, but from desperation. You enter relationships because you think time is running out. You stay in jobs that drain you because you think starting over would be too late. You accept a meaningless life because you think changing now would be risky. You chase goals that are not even yours just to feel like you are moving at the right pace. But who defined that pace? Seneca said that we are not given a short life. We make it short when we waste time on things that do not deserve our soul. And one of the most silent ways to waste life is to obey a calendar that did not come from you. A calendar created by social expectations, family comparisons, pressure from friends, fear of judgment, and standards that may have never respected your story. Not every delay is failure. Sometimes what you call delay was the time you needed to mature, to realize what you did not want, to leave an illusion, to heal a wound, to learn how to choose better, to finally understand that a life that looks right to others can become a prison for you. This does not mean using your own timing as an excuse not to act. Stoicism is not passivity. It is not crossing your arms and accepting anything. It is acting with clarity on what depends on you, without destroying yourself over what does not. The past no longer depends on you. The age at which certain things happen for others does not depend on you. Other people's opinion about your rhythm does not depend on you. But your next step does. Your next choice does. Today's discipline does. The courage to begin again does. After 30, you need to eliminate the rush that comes from fear and cultivate the urgency that comes from purpose. Fear says, run, you are late. Purpose says, walk, your life deserves direction. Fear pushes you into desperate decisions. Purpose puts you in motion with dignity. The fourth thing you need to eliminate after 30 is the habits that numb your pain but steal your life. Not everything that destroys you looks like destruction. Sometimes it looks like rest. It looks like a reward. It looks like a deserved distraction. You had a difficult day, so you spend hours on your phone. You feel empty, so you buy something. You feel anxious, so you eat without hunger. You feel frustrated, so you sleep late to delay tomorrow. You feel lonely, so you search for any conversation, any attention, any stimulation, and none of it seems serious in the moment. But small repeated escapes become a silent prison. You wake up tired, your mind loses focus, your body feels heavy, your self-esteem drops, your patience gets shorter, your routine becomes disorganized. You start feeling like you have no energy to change. But part of your energy is being absorbed by the very habits that promise relief. The problem is not pleasure. The problem is using pleasure as a constant escape. The problem is not rest. The problem is calling something rest when it leaves you emptier. Because there is a difference between recovering and numbing yourself. Recovery gives life back to you. Numbing only postpones the pain. After 30, the body starts charging you for what you used to ignore. Poor sleep weighs more. Too much screen time weighs more. Disordered eating weighs more. Lack of movement weighs more. Procrastination weighs more. Not because you are old, but because your life requires more presence, and certain habits pull you away from yourself. The Stoics spoke a lot about self-mastery, but self-mastery is not joyless rigidity. It is freedom. It is being able to say, I feel the urge, but I do not need to obey it. It is realizing that not every impulse deserves to become an action. It is understanding that every small choice is training you to become stronger or weaker. Ask yourself honestly, does what you call rest truly restore you, or does it only distract you from your exhaustion? Does what you consume every day make you clearer or more confused? Does your nighttime routine prepare you to live better or simply steal tomorrow from you? Does that habit bring you closer to the person you want to become, or does it keep you trapped in a tired version of yourself? You do not need to change everything at once, but you need to start recovering command. One less hour of screen time, one protected night of sleep, one walk, one task completed before guilt grows, one morning without immediately handing your mind to your phone, one honest conversation instead of another escape. One small choice, repeated with respect, can rebuild an entire life. The fifth thing you need to eliminate after 30 is the old version of you that only existed to survive. This is the hardest one because it does not seem external. It feels like your personality. You say, this is just how I am. But is it really? Or did you learn to be this way so you would not suffer? Maybe there is a version of you that learned to please people in order not to be rejected. A version that learned to look strong because no one held your weakness. A version that learned to control everything because one day you felt deeply unsafe. A version that learned not to trust because you were betrayed. A version that learned to accept little because you believed you did not deserve more. A version that learned to work nonstop because you confused worth with productivity. And maybe that version was necessary. Maybe it protected you. Maybe it helped you survive difficult moments. Maybe without it, you would not have made it this far. But after 30, an unavoidable question appears. Do I still need to live this way? Many people are not living in the present. They are repeating old survival strategies. The person is no longer in that environment, but reacts as if they still were. They are no longer in that relationship, but defend themselves as if they were about to be hurt the same way. They are no longer that ignored child, but still try to earn attention. They are no longer that insecure young person, but still need to prove their worth to everyone. This is exhausting because you are trying to build happiness with an identity designed to endure pain. It is like trying to live inside armor. Armor protects you in war, but it hurts you when the war is over. After 30, becoming happy again requires abandoning the armor you confused with who you are. You can thank that old version of yourself. You can recognize that it had a function, but you can also say, now I take responsibility. Now I do not need to please everyone. Now I do not need to look strong all the time. Now I do not need to accept crumbs. Now I do not need to run away from silence. Now I do not need to live as if I was still trapped in what hurt me. This is a deep kind of freedom, realizing that you are not obligated to keep being the person you had to become in order to survive. You can choose to respond differently, love differently, work differently, rest differently, protect yourself differently, begin again differently. In the end, these 5 things have the same root: the need to prove yourself, the guilt of carrying people, the rush to meet an imaginary timeline, the numbing habits that steal your presence, the old version of you that still directs your choices. All of it comes from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of disappointing others, fear of being late, fear of feeling, fear of changing. But life begins to feel lighter when you stop obeying fear as if it were wisdom. After 30, happiness is not about accumulating more. It is about eliminating better. It is about choosing more consciously what enters your mind, who enters your life, which habits occupy your routine, and which version of you will be allowed to decide your future. Maybe you do not need a perfect life. Maybe you need a more honest life. A life that does not impress as much, but gives you peace back. A life with less appearance and more truth. Less rush and more direction. Less guilt and more boundaries. Less escape and more presence. Less comparison and more respect for your own path. So, if this video spoke to you, comment, "I choose to live lighter." Not as a beautiful phrase, but as a decision. Because maybe the happiness you are searching for is not found in achieving one more thing, receiving one more approval, or arriving faster somewhere. Maybe it begins the moment you look at your own life and ask with courage, what do I finally need to eliminate?